It was a brick by brick and a stone by stone. Rome wasn't built in a day, it wasn't done alone. See, the spirit is the merit and the mind is the home. It takes a whole village to get a child out this home. Yes, to be a great man without good instructions, a surefire way to lead a life of destruction. Let's be honest, sit down and tune in. Put an hour of your life into some instruction.
Yo, what's up? What it is? Welcome, my beautiful spirits and people and all of you wonderful individuals who have chosen to take your time, to take this time and spend it with me here today. Welcome. This is the place where the men of today build the structures for the men of tomorrow. I'll say it one more time, where the men of today make sure that they are building the necessary structures for the men of tomorrow, because our motto over here is be the change in the world that you want to see. Now, I am so lucky to be able to sit here today and have the ability to hopefully have a very productive and fruitful conversation today. I have some guests in the house, some OGs in the house. I have some people in that have been ride or die for the longest time. They've been around for a minute, so they're in the house today. And so hopefully we will have a very, very productive conversation. Please submit any ideas, comments, criticisms, concerns, all of that on your respective platform, wherever you're listening. All of that engagement helps me. Share it with your people. Okay, I'm not begging, I'm not asking, I'm telling you. Go ahead and pass it on. Okay? Pass it along, okay? If you're gonna be passing stuff along, pass this along to quality. Okay? All right. With that being said, we're going to move right into it. Let's get right after it. So I am lucky today to have a guest here who has been the other half of many, I'm sure hundreds, if not thousands of these conversations that we have had over the years about topics just like the ones we will be covering today. And man, this guy, man, he has continued to wow me through every conversation throughout each and every year. Just when I think that there's a layer that I'm starting to understand, he gives me something else and just provides another layer of complexity to how his mind works. And it's just one of the many reasons that I respect him. One of the many reasons that we are such great friends, and that we go back so far. And honestly, one of the people who has been very paramount in making this possible and give me the opportunity to sit here and be able to do this right now. But with all that being said, I would like to bring to the microphone my great friend and honestly someone I call my brother, Ladarrius King. Go ahead and talk to people.
What's happening, y'all? This is Ladarrius King. Feels good to be here. This is a great platform. I'm excited to see, how far we can take this. The sky ain't the limit. The moon is. So we just gonna take it as far as we can.
That's how you coming at them? You giving them gems right out there.
Yeah, the sky ain't the limit. The moon is. But seriously though, this platform is something that like I said, we're here to show and guide and just give y'all the gems on how to be, a better person than you were yesterday and a better person than you are tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So, for all the people who didn't have father figures, mother figures, parents in general, who didn't have, the proper guidance, who didn't have, anything, period. This is for you. This is for the men who aren't as expressive of their emotions, who aren't as expressive of how they work, how they navigate everything, who have, certain coping mechanisms that are not, that are not appropriate, I would say. So this is for y'all. I wanted to say that.
For sure.
Welcome to Menstruction.
For sure. Man, and man, I gotta say too, this guy, he has been such an avid supporter of everything that I've been trying to do and everything that I try to do for so many people, for all of you. So much so that I vaguely recall a conversation we had not that long ago where he had essentially deemed himself a co-creator of all of this. And it was just giving himself all kinds of credit. And he's like, yeah, and then I can do this. And, matter of fact, I can just start making business deals. I'm like, yo.
Well, shoot, you gotta represent.
I mean, no. And that's the thing. I love the energy.
You gotta represent, man.
I love the energy.
You gotta represent people. You gotta represent your homie stuff like it's yours. You know what I'm saying? Like you had the same idea at the same time, kind of. Man, like when they tell you, you gotta be all in. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's something like this where it's positive.
Right.
We're all black men. You know what I'm saying? We trying to beat the stigma, beat the odds. And I'm not saying we came from terrible environments, but when you're born, and not to get too deep into this, but being born as an African American, we already have a strike against us.
That's real.
So we just trying to make something positive out of this.
Absolutely. I love it. So let's get right after it. Let's get right into it. So one of the things, coming into this new year, I have really, really been focusing on the new objectives and new strides that I want to make for myself, obviously, right? That's always a new thing about the new year, New Year's resolutions, blah, blah, blah. I don't like to call them that. I don't necessarily believe in the whole concept of the resolution. I think it's better to set objectives, right? It's better to reflect first on the year that you had and things that you've done and where you've gone and the places you haven't made it, and then set objectives, right? Treat yourself like you are a corporation. And okay, this was our mission for last year. Did we hit our goals? Did we hit our targets? If we didn't, what do we need to do to fix that? And so I got to a point where I was like, yo, one of the things that I had set for myself last year that I actually did succeed at doing was getting back into the gym. And it was one of those things where I didn't have the drive, right? It was something that I started doing my freshman year of college. It was something that I, for some reason, was just adamantly against going into that, and I didn't really want to do, or I felt like wasn't as important as it was. And I had, plenty of people tell me, they were like, man, start working on yourself, work on your fitness, get in the gym, do a sport, something like that. I'm not the sport person. I'm not the sport type. So I didn't do all that. And, of course, and I went off to college and I ended up going to an all male university and being around a lot of like-minded, similar young men to myself. I got to a point where it was like, man, this is something that actually is paramount. And, of course, we would discuss it and start going into things. And I started doing it. And honestly, of course, I loved it, right? I loved it. I was enjoying the process. I feel like I was building something for myself. I was enjoying the process of feeling that I was building myself and fortifying myself, literally, physically, but also the mental advantages that it gave me too. Because what happens is when you do something like pursuing going to the gym, you're practicing maintaining a routine. Because in order to get any kind of benefits out of going to the gym, whatever you're going for, consistency is key. You have to be able to go and continue to go and have a routine for going. And not only that, but it forces you to plan what you are going to do so you can see the results that you want to see. Because when you go in and you sit back and you're like, okay, I can do this. I want to work on my arms. I want to make sure my arms popping. I want to make sure my chest popping, whatever. And, you put in a month, you put in 2 months, and you don't see the results. You better believe you start planning out your routines. You're going, okay, what do I need to do to see some result? And so that's one of the things that last year that strived to do that I actually did achieve. And so moving into this year now, trying to figure out where I can now step that up and take that to the next level and move where I want to go with that. But in the time of being in the gym, I've seen a lot of things. Mostly positive, some negative things, but I mostly want to talk about the positive today. One of the things that I noticed is being in the gym, you start to develop an understanding for what other people, or rather, you start to get an understanding for how certain types of people live. And specifically, I'm talking about the type of people who obviously fitness is a priority for them, but more so than that, for people who having a routine and people who are dedicated to a goal, what those people look like, right? Because there are a lot of different environments and places where you can see and interact with people who are driven, who are going after something, who have something that they're trying to achieve, right? And you kind of think of the conventional places, right? You think about educational facilities, think about, educators or those being educated, think about people in college, you think about people in the workforce, the big businessman, the stockbroker, he's out there, getting it, the doctors and so on and so forth. And they do too, right? Those are good examples, but it's hard to really wrap your mind around that if that's not a direction that you yourself are going in. And not only that, if you don't have access to people like that, where you can get to know them on an interpersonal level and say, hey, what drives you? What motivates you to get up in the morning and say, yo, this is what I want to be doing. This is what I need to be doing. And honestly, the bigger question is, what motivates you to keep going when the shit gets tough, when you just don't feel like it, when you're like, man, I'm not about it today. I'm tired. I'm not interested. What is it that then keeps you going, right? And you don't get to, everyone doesn't get to have conversations with people about those kinds of things. You don't get to talk about that kind of thing with those people. If you get the opportunity, that's great. But I've always kind of wished and wondered if there was an arena, a forum where you could see that firsthand and get to understand how that works with the more common man, if you will. And so I've kind of discovered that one of those places is the gym, because you go in and you will see, first of all, you're going to see a myriad of different people. That's going to happen. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about being able to go and having it be such a public arena. You're going to see all different types of people. You're going to see different ethnicities of people. You're going to see different shapes of people. You're going to see different ages of people. And so you get access to a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life just off the bat.
And on top of that, you also get access to people who are in the same boat as you, whether you're super fit or, super out of shape, not judging anybody, but you get that kind of access. Therefore, when you're in the gym, you're able to be, you're able to be social.
Well, hold on. Before you even jump to that, because that's where I'm going to. That's where I'm going.
Okay.
So you get access to all these different kinds of people, but now it's in an arena where these people are much more approachable. You're in an arena where everyone more or less is working towards the same thing. Everyone has their own agenda, right? You have your own plan or your own desire of what you're trying to get to. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to gain weight, you're trying to build muscle, whatever it is you're trying to do. But at the end of the day, the overall underlying reason we're in here is because we're trying to transform ourselves. We are trying to build ourselves in some way, whether that's to retain some workout habits we had, whether that's to transform what we look like, whatever it is, transformation is at the core. And so now you can approach these people because, regardless of the reason someone's in there, at their core, we both can relate on the basis of, I'm trying to transform me and you're trying to transform you. Now you can approach this person and ask them, hey, what brings you to do this? And more importantly, what drives you to continue doing it? And what you see even beyond that is then you get to see the difference between the people who actually are doing it and who do have that drive and have a routine and consistency, and the people who don't. Because when you go consistently, what you'll start to notice is other people who are also doing the same thing that you are. You see those people that are in there consistently, you start to recognize faces. And you see people that you've seen multiple times, and you can now start to pay attention to their progress and see, okay, well, yeah, so-and-so, you know, Sarah be in here. You know, I see her, she be hitting her squats, X, Y, and Z, doing what she got to do. And she puts in that work. She's in here. I see her every single week. And she does not miss a day. I know she's in here. She's got to be doing great things for herself. So then I start to wonder, well, man, what drives her? I want to know what's going on in her life. What is it that brought her here? But more importantly, what's keeping her here? And that's the big question. That's what I want to talk about today. What's keeping you here? Because what got you here isn't necessarily that important. I mean, I'm interested in that too, sure. But what's keeping you here? That's the big question, right? For the people that need to be driven and dedicated to do something and develop a routine, what keeps you on that routine? What keeps you coming back to the gym, right? What keeps you maintaining the other things that you need to maintain in your life so you can make time to go to the gym? And how are you prioritizing things so that you feel like you need to continue going to the gym? Because you might get to a point where you feel like you've achieved everything that you want to achieve. I did everything I wanted to do. I look how I want to look. I lost the weight I wanted to. I gained whatever. I've done all of that. So I don't need to, I'm good. Right? So it takes a certain degree of willpower and dedication to say, okay, I've done this. Let's go to the next milestone. I've broken through that ceiling. What's next? What's bringing me here? And so that's what I want to discuss here today. How that arena kind of opens that up to you and what that looks like. So I guess where we can start with it is just in your personal experience in going to the gym as well, and just the people that you've met and or the things that you've seen. What kind of people have you seen? Have you seen a lot of driven people who seem to be dedicated to a routine, who probably know how to practice, building a routine and following a structure? Or have you seen people who maybe are struggling and are looking for a routine and trying to get their lives together? Or what have you seen?
From my experience, being in the gym and everything, I've seen all kinds of walks of life. I've seen people come in there so consistently it don't make no sense. Like, you come in here, like, now I currently go to the gym at night. Well, technically the morning, like 2-3 in the morning. I'm in the gym. I'm out of there about an hour and a half. And that is a perfect example as to how many people you see coming there in the morning time. People coming in there, they getting their workout in for 2, 3, 4 hours. And you have some people coming in there, it's their first time coming in there. And it's like they're driven because they be in there the same amount of time, maybe even a little bit less, but they're in there driven. They're doing their squats and they're lifting their weights, and they're just trying to find anything to do. Even if they don't have a set plan, they're trying to get that workout in and get that workout done so they can continue to progress. I see people coming in there. It was one guy, he's I can't remember his name. Oh, Larry. His name is Larry. And he goes to the gym. He got electrocuted when he used to work down at the docks. And he got shocked, I should say. Electrocution, that's a different word. He got shocked when he used to work down at the docks from an open wire, and he almost died. And so, since then, he has been going to the gym consistently. He can't do too much because of his heart from getting shocked. However, he's in there probably every single day, getting his workout in. Not going too hard. He's not over here lifting an excessive amount of weights. He's doing light work, but however, I wouldn't even say light work. He's doing mid to high work, I would say, in the gym. But he's consistent with it, He's making sure he's taking care of his body. He's taking care of his his overall health. So I've seen a lot of people. I've seen this one chick. She comes in there. She's probably no taller than you, Chase, and she can deadlift probably both y'all, for real. Swear, she can deadlift both of y'all for real. And that just that's the definition of what dedication looks like to me. To where you get to that point where you're like, where you go from being, where you super skinny, to where you almost look anorexic, or whether you're super out of shape, where somebody might think that you, having some other issues. It takes dedication to make that change. But just from what I've seen, it's been all kind of different people.
Right. And so, and I think I like what you pointed out there too, that you provided specific examples of people that you've seen, because that really demonstrates what different people, put into their routines. And so, where I kind of want to go with it is, I feel that in my time going to the gym, which has been about, I think I've been back at it for about 6 months or so now. And even in that small period of time, I have not only seen and made a lot of personal changes, but I've actually been able to meet people and kind of developed relationships with them just based off the fact of them being able to see my consistency, just based off of the fact that I return as regularly as I do, and I put in the work as regularly as I do. And kind of the tenet of real recognizes real, as they say. When you see someone else that is getting after it in the same way that you get after it, and or that you want to, there's a mutual respect that develops, and there's just a certain understanding between persons when you see that. And again, that's in any field, right? That's if we're talking in the business space, that's in the sports space, the music space. There's just, when you see someone that has that drive and dedication, there's this sense of community that develops. And so what I've seen is gyms being very important as a communal space. It's somewhere where, again, you get access to the people who are that dedicated, but then moreover, you get access to a community of people that now you can go and interact with and really begin to build for yourself, because now you feel like you have an understanding and you have a group of people that are so diverse in their own way that it actually begins to shape your perspective. And this is why I think it's so important that young men of our caliber in our peer group, if you don't already go, and more importantly, why it's important to go consistently, and also, to be honest, to go to a good gym. You get to a point where, again, you're building up yourself physically, but more importantly, you're building up yourself mentally. And what I mean by that is, by getting access to so many different kinds of people and being from different walks of life and all the things that they do, you start to see that, there's a world around me where people are doing so many other things, but they also have the ability to work on this part of their lives. And it gives you less of an excuse to not go after what you want to do. Because when you see, your boy Gerald, who's, a solid 320 pounds, and, he might be 5'8", so he's overweight for his height, but you see him in there, and he's in there every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, and he's hitting his cardio. He's talking to the trainer. He's going over workout plans. He's going through his resistance training, and you see him in there. You can see that determination on his face. You go, well, damn, maybe all fat people aren't lazy, right? You go, damn, okay, well, maybe everyone that is, within his age group isn't a lost cause. Maybe men just don't decide that, hey, I don't need to be a part of a workout regimen. I don't need to talk to a trainer. It starts to dispel those myths. It changes how you approach things. Then let's talk about the part that for the fellas out there, of course, I know this is important. The ladies that you see in the gym. Let's be honest, because for a lot of us, that's the motivation.
Man, speak on it.
That's the motivation why a lot of us go, or at least continue to go. You see something you like, and if you go to a good gym, you see a few things that you like, right?
Man, is the one and I didn't even cut you off, but it's one chick that's in there. I can't remember her name, but she looked like she been in there for about a good 5 years. She's not like super buff, but it's just like she's sculpted. Yeah, she's very fit and sculpted so perfectly where it's like, man, you feel intimidated, but at the same time you feel motivated.
Right. And I'm sure she is a beautiful young woman.
She is. And it's like, man, like, and when you're in the gym and you seeing like the females and you seeing the different, the different size of the different shapes and forms of people that's in there, rather than being like, rather than feel intimidated though, I say made me feel intimidated because it was just like, she's to her best version of herself, well, at least from my eyes, while I'm still in the lower version of myself.
Right.
So that kind of like just intimidation where it's like in a good way, where it's like you're intimidating me to get to where you are, so it just like she was just sculpted so perfectly, and it just made it motivated me to really go harder and just show up to the gym more, be more present.
Right.
That's one of the things about being healthy, mental health and physical health. You have to be present. Show up to your own success.
I like that. Yes.
Show up to your own success, y'all.
And I love that, and I actually wanna move in that direction too, because you made such a perfect point right there. You go into the gym, gentlemen, let's just be honest, and you see those perfect specimens, okay? And you see so many different versions of what greatness can look like. Okay, you see, you get the tall chicks that are in there, the athletic builds, and they're doing their thing. You get the short chicks, you get all different ethnicities, and your Asian chicks, your black chicks, your white chicks, so on and so forth. They're all there. And again, that they all started from their own place. They all started from their own square one, whatever that is. Whether they felt like they were overweight, whether they felt like they were underweight, whether they felt like they were curvaceous, they were too curvy, they weren't curvy enough, whatever the case may be. But when you go in there, what you see is what that progress looks like. That's what you get to see in that arena, in that forum. You don't necessarily get to see. I mean, in some cases, depending on, when you get in there, you might catch someone that's at their square one too, and you see, well, okay, this is what that's where they're starting. But in some cases, in a lot of cases, where they're starting isn't even a bad place. And you're like, well, if that's where you're starting and you come in here and you do the work, that's gonna be a great thing. And like you were pointing out, when you see that, it motivates you to come back. Now I want to go in because, okay, I see that. Well, if she's going to put that effort in, and that's where she's starting at, and I've seen what the progress can look like and what it can do, then this is where I need to be. Because this is where, and this is really where I want to get into it. This is where real transformations happen. Because too often what happens is it gets lost in the metasphere. You get lost in that, right? You go on your timeline, you start scrolling, you see the Instagram thotties, right? You see the baddies, and it's not just there, right? It's in the media everywhere. I mean, you look at certain ads and commercials, and you see a certain type of female, right? You see the ones that are, you know, sculpted and fit, and this is perfect, and that is perfect, and that's popping, and the cosmetics are there, and the skin is perfect, and the hair is great. You see all of that, and you can't help but be conditioned to believe that somewhere behind the scenes there's a transformation that happens, and there's something that happens where, you know, deep down within, that chick started somewhere else. That whole concept of you woke up like this is bull. We know that's, you didn't.
Man, ain't nobody wake up like how they is now. Everybody starts from square one, bro.
Yeah,
everybody
right.
starts
Everyone
from square one.
has a square one.
Kobe Bryant didn't just wake up and be the best basketball player ever.
Right.
You know, you all start from square one. Michael Jordan didn't just grow to be the billionaire he is. He started from square one. With him, his basketball, and in his goal in his backyard. Square one. Didn't make it to the league yet. None of that. Didn't even been to college yet. None of that. So that whole I woke up like this, that whole, throw it out the window. Whatever you're thinking, throw that out of the window. If you have, and another thing, if you're insecure about your body and you're afraid to go in the gym, throw that insecurity out of the window. Because I know, it's from somebody from experience, I know I've been insecure about my body for a long time. And I was too afraid to go in the gym because I'm thinking like, man, you know, somebody might wail on me for being, you know, this size, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, you're going into a space of like-minded people. You're going into a space where people who have been through who are feeling the same way you feel, probably even worse. You know, they're coming in there to work. They're coming in there to put the time in so they can become the best version of themselves and not be insecure. So if you have that insecurity, man, throw that out the window. Forget everything that you think the gym is and go in there with an open mind and a prepared body. Prepared as in, you know, eat your nutrients, drink your water, do your proper exercise, stretch. Make sure you stretch. Whatever supplements you need to take them to prepare yourself for the war that you have on your body to make your progress.
That's right.
So just go in there with an open mind, y'all. Take that insecurity out.
And I mean that's huge too. I like what you said right there about not having that insecurity, and a big part of eliminating that insecurity, right? How you get rid of a lot of that is your ability to put beyond that, being able to keep things in perspective is crucial. Again, when you can see someone else making that progress, when you see someone from their point A, from their square one, and you see where the progress happens and how they can build and fortify that, that's how you demystify that for yourself. That's where that insecurity comes in, because the insecurity gets eliminated when there's nothing to be insecure about, because insecurity is a source of bad comparisons.
It's all in your head, y'all. Like the book I got in my hand by Russ, it's called It's All in Your Head. It basically talks about getting out your own way. Your insecurities is in your own way. Your insecurities in your way. Your ego is in your way. You are in your own way. You're in your head so much that you're hesitating. You're afraid. Get out your own way. It's all in your head. You know, and I say that from like I said, from firsthand of knowing, of being insecure, of being scared, being embarrassed, you know, because of who, you know, how I looked physically when I look in the mirror. So it's all in your head.
And it is. You have to be willing to take all of what you believe, but also what you can physically see, and put that into perspective and use that as the driving force for what keeps you going. There is no magic. There's no magic. Let's just be clear about that. There's no magic. The magic does not exist. There is no place. There's no magic booth where you can go and pay a certain fee and go into and poof, pow, padam, dishum, turn into the ideal you. turn into, you know, the ideal picture, perfect, picturesque, everything that you seem polished in the media in front of you. It doesn't exist. Let me tell you where that chamber is. It's at the gym. It's when I go somewhere, and it's the work that people are putting in that doesn't get talked about. It's the work that people are putting in that they don't brag about. It's the work that people are putting in the times and the places where you think they're on their off time, right? Because we know about the times where people go in and you know tangibly they're putting in crunch time. They go to work, they putting in crunch time, right? Some people are family oriented, so they get home, they're putting in crunch time. They're making sure they're putting in that quality time with their people, with their loved ones, their spouses, their children, whoever that is. So you know it's crunch time. There's some people who have certain passions about certain things. Some people are heavy into the music space. So you know when someone goes to, you know, they go to the studio, they put in crunch time. Some people, you know, they got their hobbies. You might be really good with your hands. You do mechanic work. So you know when so-and-so gets in the garage, it's crunch time. So you know those things, but it's those times off when they're not in those obstinate areas of putting in work. That's where the quote unquote magic is happening. When you think they're just taking off, when they're relaxing, when they're not doing the most productive things, that's where the transformation, that's where the magic is. Because that's when, honestly, that's when it takes the most willpower. When you don't realize that same mechanic that you know is putting crunch time in the garage, he is really taking his quote unquote free time and he's reading. He's studying up on his Black history. Right? He's looking into, well, this is where our people came from. Right? This is the history they don't teach us. That's where the real crunch time, that's where the magic happens. Because then you get to the point where you start to ask yourself, well, where did those people come from? And what do I mean when I say those people? Those people where you see on certain platforms, or the kind of characters that are created in certain movies and TV shows and books. And you're like, you know, it's the guy who, or gal, where, you know, they're a common person around town. Everyone knows them. You know, he's such a nice person, blah, blah, blah. But then suddenly they have this whole double side, right? They have this other person that they are. And it's like, oh, well, who would have known? Well, that, man, you're kind of awesome. Like, you have these layers and you're complex and you're interesting and you're well read and wow, you know, we thought you're just a grease monkey. You just know how to get in there with the cars. That's where that transformation happens, in that off time. What keeps you dedicated to doing that? And that you can learn and really start to manifest when you go to a gym, because you see that progress from someone who's on that off time. And let's be honest, for some people, like the person you were talking about earlier, who you can tell is in there every day or every other day, and they're putting in the time, they've been in there for years. For that person, that's their crunch time. So their off time isn't the gym. Where I'm going and I'm putting in crunch time is the gym. And that's just the same. That's, if anything, that's just a hyper inflated example of what this person looks like, who has found that drive and they get after it. But that's what happens when you go to the gym. You find that community, you find that people, and more so, you start to discover that's where the actual magic, quote unquote, is happening. That's where those transformations exist. That's where you go and you find, like I was alluding to earlier, you find those chicks where it's like, man, I know they exist. I know they're out there where they're taking care of themselves physically. They're putting time into developing and fortifying themselves characteristically, and not just physically, but making sure that the mind is matching the outside. I know they exist. Well, and of course, if you sit back and you listen to the media and you get into that space and you continue to fuel into those things, you start to believe, well, they don't exist. Because that's what you hear all the time. The narrative is always, well, you know, every chick out here is doing X, Y, and Z, and hot girl summer this, and they don't do that, and da da da. Okay. And there's something to be said for that.
Getting BBLs and all that stuff, and, you know, getting the lipo and all that stuff. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. Do your thing, boo. However, we us enjoy the women who get that work naturally.
But more so, that's where you see that they exist.
Right.
That's where they manifest.
That's where they manifest that naturally. That's like, you can't go and think you're gonna get a perfect. There's no such thing as a real diamond that's been built in a lab. Diamonds come from the ground.
Oh, hold on. We gotta go back. You gotta say that one more time. There is no such thing.
There's no such thing as real diamond
other than one that's been built in a lab.
That's been built in a lab. There's no such thing as a real diamond that's been built in a lab.
I love that.
Diamonds come from the ground. They come from the natural source of the earth, naturally.
Oh, I love that.
To be polished and be shining bright.
And polished by what? The forces of nature.
The forces of nature. Be polished.
I love that.
Be polished. So you have, and on top of that, to add on to that, when you're in the your off time and you're wanting to put in crunch time, and you face the distractions of the media, eliminate those. If you feel like it's distracting you so much, eliminate them for however many months you need to, or 90. I wouldn't even say eliminate them completely. Just learn to disconnect from them.
So here, let me interject. I want to ask you a question on that. So with the mind altering experience that is the metaverse, let's just call it.
You know how I feel about the metaverse.
So how can someone going to a gym, a good quality gym, help change their perspective on those things?
On the gym, or
no? How could someone going to a gym regularly and consistently and building that routine for themselves and all the things that we just mentioned, how can that help combat the disillusionment that comes from being in the metaverse?
For them to be able to, like, when you're in that gym consistently, like, if you really want to try to like combat and just being in that metaverse, Facebook, the social media, the lifestyle of being stuck.
People still using Facebook?
Yeah.
People still on Facebook?
Yeah, there's some people still on Facebook. It's a lot of people.
Are people our age still on Facebook?
A few.
Oh shit.
A handful, I would say.
Okay.
At least that I know. Everybody else is kind of iffy.
Okay.
Just go on there, share stuff, watch videos, whatever. But anywho,
TikTok, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's kind of taking on. They got a kitchen coming. They got a kitchen. They got a restaurant coming.
A TikTok restaurant?
Yeah, TikTok restaurant. Swear to God.
What do you mean? Like, it's sponsored? What is it?
No, like, it's an actual TikTok restaurant. That's where they have like Americanized food, like burgers,
TikTok
fries.
is sponsoring it. Like, they're creating the restaurant.
They're creating the restaurant. They're not sponsoring.
So TikTok owns the restaurant.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, crazy.
Wow. Okay, that's gonna be a different conversation.
Right.
Wow.
That's insane. But no, so look, like, when you're like, don't get so sucked into that lifestyle of that you feel like you're slipping away, that you feel that you're putting yourself back in square one, that you feel like you're back at square one, bro. Combating that lifestyle, be more consistent. Like I said, disconnect more from the metaverse into the real universe. Disconnect from Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok. I know you just said that, TikTok, whatever. Disconnect from all those for however many months you need to, if you really are wanting to focus and not be distracted. Because distractions is what's going to take you on the detour. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going to take you on the detour. It's going to hold you up. Now, us as anime fans, I'm an anime fan. My good buddy right here, Alex, he's an anime fan. And I say that because there's an example that I wanted to give in Dragon Ball Z. When Goku was on his way to King Kai's place, he got distracted by the snake lady. He was, the snake lady gave him food, all type of stuff, and in the end, yes, she was trying to eat him or whatever. Wasn't she trying to eat him? Yeah, she was trying to eat him, and he managed to get away. But had he not stopped there and got distracted, he wouldn't have had to go through none of that. You know what I'm saying? So stop. So to my example, stop going to the snake lady house. Don't stop at the snake lady house, okay? Not that tempting. Don't get distracted. Stay consistent. Stay out of the media. Don't believe the disillusions that's on the media. If you see any, don't believe all that extra stuff that they, all the fat burning teas or whatever. Well, I will say this: detox your body. If you're getting to the gym, detox your body.
And can you? Because I know that you and I privately have been talking about that a little bit, because I know that's something that you're prioritizing for yourself this year. But can you break down just a little bit more to what does detoxing really mean? How does that work? What's that about? Well, and not just that, what does it mean to you, but also why are you deciding to do it?
To answer your first question, why is it what does that mean? So detoxing your body, so your body, when your body is digesting, it tends to leave behind extra
the waste behind.
Yeah, it leaves extra waste behind. It leaves extra feces and and urine, things like that in your body. So your intestines and everything like that are getting pretty much clunked with extra waste. And hopefully for some people it's not too late that it's clogging your intestines up. But detoxing your body basically clears that out. Now it might take you a couple times to do such. However, to really get that whole cleanse out. But if you have problems, with, like I said, your food digesting, or even if you have a sensitive stomach, like myself, and certain foods where I can't eat it because I know it's going to go straight through, then, that's basically what detoxing is better for. And what was the other two questions? Oh, why I choose to do it?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Oh, me? Yeah, like I said, because I have a sensitive stomach. But on top of that, to give my body a fresh start. I have not treated my body that greatly over the years. Of all the consumption of, the things that the junk food and the fried foods and things like that. So just taking the time to really kind of give my body that baptism, I guess you can call it. And kind of just start to repair my digestive system. Like I said, the first time may not be what does it. It might take you a couple times. However, it is supposed to eventually help your stomach digest easier. And on top of that, you can also take some enzymes that also help with that too.
And so with detoxing, right, which is obviously short for detoxification, and toxins are, I guess, to use a synonym, are poisons, things that are poisoning your system. So would you say, in your opinion, with doing a physical detox, do you think that there is a mental detoxing process that you can pair with that as well? And what do you think that would look like? Because kind of what I'm thinking is, obviously, as we're talking about, this is kind of the companion to going to the gym, and you're building yourself up physically, and we've discussed how that also fortifies yourself mentally. But can you do the same with your detoxification process? Because there's obviously the physical behalf, which is what you're talking about, which is being able to clear out the waste, but can we clear out the mental waste? Is there a process that you can put with that, to, in the same vein that you are fortifying that mental space when you're doing your physical workouts and whatnot? Can we do a mental detoxification? And can that be, and is there a part of that can have to do with, like you were saying, one of the steps maybe being removing yourself from some of that, from that metaverse?
As far as like the mental detox, like I said, disconnect yourself from the metaverse. Disconnect yourself from the media, whether it's positive or negative, because ultimately, you're gonna scroll through and you're gonna see something you're gonna see either or. You're never gonna find in your timeline everything just positive, 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 positive. You're gonna find something negative here and there, but primarily disconnect from the media, man. Disconnection from that. Disconnect from those friends who are not good for you in your space, who are not trying to support your current goals and endeavors. You know, and I ain't saying you gotta cut them off completely. You can love from a distance, whatever the case may be, but get around from those people. Get around from the people who are enablers and are not encouraging you to change your lifestyle. You know, who are not encouraging you to basically make change. So the mental detox is, you know, staying off the media. You know, and can't stress this enough. Read. Learn, get some info, get some information. You know, get the education.
Challenge it.
Whatever it is that you're interested in, look it up, read it, find a book, something. You know, or even go on what I got on my phone, Wattpad or something. You know, Wattpad, that's a community of writers who, you know, not like superstars or nothing, but it's basically like fictional books and everything that local people or like people who may not have that stardom are writing. So I don't know if I explained it completely properly, but you know, go on there or something. Go on, you know, read a book, get that education, or you know, just expand your imagination so you can fortify your mental and not be, you know, trampled by, you know, media distractions and be trampled by just different negative energies that are coming into your space. So that's how I think you should, you know, people should be able to combat those kind of things. You know, just disconnect.
Okay. I like that. And you know what? And I think that those are all good tips too. One thing that you said though that I really, really, really liked is you're the same way that you have to build up your physical self, right? You have to press yourself, literally. You have to push your muscles to an extent in order for them to reward you, right? In order to see those results, to see that, you know, that bulking up or whatever it is you want to do, to see definition, you have to put them under stress.
I see where you're going with this. You got to push your brain to do the same thing.
Exactly. Your mind is a muscle.
Yes.
And you have to put pressure on it.
If
you want to fortify it and strengthen it so that it can benefit you more and give you more strength throughout necessary situations, you have to put it under stress because it has been proven, and anyone again who is consistently in the gym pursuing these things knows this too. When you put stress on your body, good stress that is, because there is positive stress and negative stress, those are two different things. When you put positive stress on your body, it has been proven in numerous different studies.
And to give more detail, what would you think? What do you think is positive stress? Positive, because we know what negative stress is. We know what that is. What is positive stress?
Positive stress to me is any amount of any kind of pressure that you can put on yourself that you know for a fact you can sustain. Right. And you can sustain without having to make any major life adjustments. Right. For example, if you were to, just to use something trivial, let's say you're one of those people that you go grocery shopping and you carry all the bags in at one time. We're not making 2 trips. We're not doing 2 trips. We got to get it all in one. Right. So you put all those bags and you put them on your hand, you put them in your fingers, put them around your arm, you know, you hook it on your shoulder, whatever. Right. That's stress, right? Because, you know, obviously you're not able to comfortably carry all those things at one time, but you can do it. And by doing it, you have now made the convenience for yourself. You don't have to make multiple trips. You don't have to now make any major life adjustments. You're not going to break your hand, hopefully. You're not going to break your hand, break your wrist or whatever by carrying all those groceries. You're going to be okay.
Some groceries. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to explain
Listen, you should have been in the gym. All right, exactly. Look, like I said, you need to get back in the gym. If you snap a wrist carrying your orange juice up the stairs,
Ma, I got it.
So, but that to me is like that would be positive stress because you put that on yourself, but you come out and when you do it now, it's like, okay, well now I know I can carry. And again, it's a trivial example, but I know that I can carry an excessive amount of things for a short burst of time, and it's not going to hurt me. Right. So that's positive stress. So getting back to the point, you have to be able to sustain when you can put your body up against positive stress and put that pressure on yourself. It has been proven numerous times in numerous different studies that it then gives you the ability to withstand stress in general. That being the negative stress, which by increasing that threshold, because that's essentially what you're doing, you're increasing the threshold of stress for yourself. And the threshold of positive stress, that is. So it makes that of which that is your negative stress seem smaller in comparison because you've put yourself through enough positive stress that stress overall doesn't bother you as much.
Would you say positive stress is like the things that like and smaller things that we go through in life, like let's say like you are trying to, for instance, you're trying to start up, you're making this podcast,
right?
Would you say that's something that was like positive stress because you had the frustration at first of?
Well, here I'll take it here. I'll say too. I think positive stress is necessary. Negative stress is not. That is a major 100%. Distinction I would make. Positive 100%. Stressors are things you have to go through. You 100%. Have to sustain positive stressors.
Well,
negative stressors, you don't. You really don't. They're not necessary.
If you say that, if it's something that you have to go through, wouldn't you have to go through the negative stress sometimes to get to the positive stress?
I think negative stress comes out of certain situations that you do have to do, right? Like, for example,
so it's the positive is making the negative stress.
No. Like, for example, if I would assume most people want to find themselves in a loving relationship one day, right? One of the major things that's one of the major things that's gonna come out of that is you're gonna have disagreements with that individual, and you're gonna have some tough times in that relationship because you are two individuals trying to learn how to be one. There are gonna be some negative stressors that come out of that. You're gonna have, whether that be arguments, you're gonna have disagreements, you're gonna have whatever the case may be. That's not a positive stressor. However, it is something you have to go through because it's a necessary part of that process. So in that case, yeah, those are things you have to do, but you don't have to sustain, is what I'm saying. You can alleviate that. You can learn better ways to communicate. You can learn who your partner is so you don't have to have those kinds of disagreements. Or rather, even if you have disagreements, right? And actually, that's a good example. It can be a positive stressor too, because you have to have disagreements, and it then helps you fortify communication skills. Because what you can take out of that is now we're going to learn how we can communicate with each other better, so these disagreements don't seem so bad. It's just that we're on different pages.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Like, once you learn how to communicate with someone better, then it's not so much as a negative anymore. It's turned into a positive stress. Where, on top of that, communication is important when you're trying to create more positive stress. Because when you're, like he said, when you're trying to communicate, communication is better with everybody. When you're trying to get to your job, when you're trying to call out for your job, you can't just not communicate with them. Because you gonna get rolled up.
Yeah, you're gonna catch a variance for sure.
Yeah, you gonna get rolled up. You're gonna have some troubles.
Right.
So you have to communicate with them to let them know, hey, I ain't better make it.
Right.
When you're starting a business, you can't not communicate with your employees or not communicate with your business partner.
Right.
Because shoot, they're going to be like, well, are we starting a business or not?
Right.
But basically, communication, I think, is one of the important things when you're making I mean, when you're turning negative stress to positive stress, and to really go into detail about what negative stress is, disagreements where, you're not communicating well, it's situations of drama from other people or from even your partner. I know there's people who have partners who are just, they always in the middle of some ish, and you're just wondering, like, how did I get here and get involved? So you have to learn to basically break away from all that, break away from that drama, break away from all these addictions and everything like that, so you can be, have more positive stress.
But I want to, because I think everyone for the most part has a pretty stable understanding of what negative stress is. So I want to just stay focused on the positive stressors for a second, because I think that's a very good question. And another distinction I want to make, I think that negative stressors are transformational, or rather transformative, and positive stressors are fundamentals. And I just want to clarify what I mean by that too. Right. I feel like with a negative stressor, it's something that you can, like we were just saying, it's something that you can take and transform into a different situation. You can take it in, again, going back to the example we were using, it's a situation where, okay, you might have really bad verbal altercations with a partner, and it gets nasty, and people have to leave and go different places, and we have to reconvene another time, and so on and so forth. But you can take that as an opportunity to learn your partner. You can take that as an opportunity to learn, how can we communicate with each other in a way that's going to bring us closer together? And more importantly, that's then going to allow us to not only communicate better with each other, but with other people. So you can transform that. Right. When it comes to a positive stressor, those are fundamental, because I feel like those are almost more so like bricks in a building. You can't, I mean, of course you could break a brick down and turn it into something else, sure. But for the most part, you take a brick and you use it as part of a structure to build something more. Right. And that's what positive stressors are. They're fundamentals where you can take them, and I guess a better term would be they're foundational. Because you can take them and build upon them. Right. And you can take your positive stressors and build better things. Right. Versus a negative stressor, you can't do that, because it doesn't have the same fortification, the
same foundation.
Right. It doesn't have the same core, where it's not strong enough.
Right.
It's not strong enough to be built upon in that way, which is why you have to take it and transform it first
to make bricks.
Right.
To make bricks.
Exactly.
To build up on something else.
I think that's a really good distinction between positive and negative stressors too. To know if you're putting positive stress, if you feel like it is something where it's foundational and you can build and fortify upon it,
right,
then that's a positive stress.
Right.
If it's something where it's like, man, I feel like it's holding me back, like I can't do anything, like it's not making me a better person, then that's not good stress. That's not good stress you need to put on yourself.
Yeah.
And so going back to the central point, that's what going into the gym and going into that space does for you.
Yeah.
It puts positive stress on you in more ways than one.
The muscle strains,
it puts
and
physical positive stress on you. It puts mental positive stress on you.
And trying to keep yourself confident, all of that.
Right.
It puts all of that stress on all that positive stress that you have to deal with when you're going through the process. And a lot of people don't even talk about the end result. What happens after you get to that part that you want to be? Whatever your best version of you is. It happens after that. Of course, you maintain it, but it's just a matter of, after you've done all of this, are you still going to keep navigating the way you are? Or are you going to forget and then end up just, forget the mental part more and focus on just, I'm in the gym anyway?
Well, and here's the thing. I think I can kind of answer that too. I think ideally the way that should work is the question of, I personally don't believe that you ever really reach your best self. I don't really think that's a thing. I think there's a concept to self-actualization that is a lifelong process.
I think
personally.
your best self is just like when you have a moment where, for me, I think it's a moment where you know you really can't ask for anything else out of the universe.
Okay.
Where you've achieved the things that you really want to achieve.
And you think that's achievable in a lifetime?
I would say it's achievable, in a lifetime.
Okay.
But however, the best version of you now may not be the best version of you when you're 30.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, right? And maybe we disagree on that point. I don't think that's achievable in a lifetime. But where I'm going with it is, let's say you do reach a point, like you're saying, where with the process you're on, you feel like you've reached a milestone you want to reach. And then, like you said, the question becomes, what do I do now? What's next? And to me, this is the thing. I feel like you're not looking at the situation properly, because what you have to realize is, in the process of reaching whatever goal, whatever milestone that was, you have now incorporated that as a portion of your life. That's a portion of you now. So, and you're looking at it as if it's separate. Right. And there are individual pieces and steps. And so, okay, well, now me going to the gym, that's just that's a part of a routine that you can switch up and turn around, where it's not. That's a part of
a lifestyle.
Exactly.
It's
a part of your character now.
Yeah,
So that means you haven't reached, and again, this is why I said I don't think you can achieve it in a lifetime, because you haven't gotten to the point where you realized you have transformed you. You've transformed your character by doing that. So that this portion of you where you're asking, okay, what do I do with it? You maintain it the same way that you have to maintain you. You maintain it. And it has however it fits in. So that means that you might not have to do 5 days a week anymore. You can pull it back to 3. But what happens is, right. But what happens is you never remove it from your routine.
Right.
Because that's a part of you. So you just have to maintain it, because that's a part of who you are at that point in time, where you've made it to that point. Right. That's what that is. You have now, that is now, and again, this goes to the point too. It now becomes, if we're talking about someone who has a lot of negative stress, like, okay, let's just, because we've had this conversation before. Let's just say we're talking about the average Gen Zer, right? And there's a lot of negative stress. There's a lot.
More than I think any of us want.
All right.
If I'm
so
being
there's
honest.
plenty of negative stressors to be put out there, right? So we're just gonna take our average, let's say 22-year-old, right? Let's say they went to high school, went to college, so they should now be rounding out the college experience. So now it's time to be thrust out into the real world and start working on a career and getting your own place, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Is this the one about when we were talking about the?
No. I'm just using.
Situation?
This is just an example.
Okay.
I'm just saying so that we can put that into perspective. Okay, so that individual, and this is somewhat based off the conversation we had before too. That individual is going to be saddled up with some debt. Let's say that they did pretty okay. They came out with, they went in with, some scholarship money, some grant money. So they're only coming out with, let's say, 15 G's. Right. They're coming out with 15 G's in debt, which honestly is on the lower end.
It's not bad
of the average
compared to what it is now.
Compared to the average, absolutely.
Yeah, average is what, like 50K or something like that.
It's up there.
It's up there.
So you're coming out with 15K. Okay, but you're going to come out, you got your degree, you're even graduating a little early because you took a class here and there.
Right.
Let's say that you found a nice little internship program, so you got a job. So you're going to come out and you'll have a job. But obviously we are still riddled in a society that is rampant with a respiratory disease. We're still in a pandemic. Still going on, right? So the job that you had secured is like an office type job,
right?
But you can't go because the office is not open. So now you have to do the virtual thing.
Right.
You have to do your job virtually, except you were also in school. So you didn't really get that much experience in the field.
Right.
To be able to do it well enough virtually, right? So now graduation's coming up, then payment's gonna be coming up after 6 months. You have this job, but you're not even sure that this is really what you want to do because you haven't really gotten the full experience because you can't. And
thank you, 2020.
Right, and then you know, so you're trying to do that. Let's say you got yourself a little car, okay? So you're working on getting that note cleaned up properly, you know, staying on top of that. You know, you got your insurance payment, and let's even say that you're working on getting your own place because you don't want to stay with your parents too much longer because you know you feel like, hey, you know, I want to move forward. So now you're also working on trying to save up some money to be able to do that with, you know, maybe some friends of yours or something along those lines, right?
Right.
So you got all of that stress, right? That comes from all those things. Plus all of the other things that you see online telling you that you're not good enough for this or you're not doing enough of that. So you come in to the situation, into your world with all this negative stress.
Right.
Which is why we see the inflated rates of anxiety, depression,
PTSD,
all these anxiety disorders, this identity dysphoria and disillusionment. You come in with all of that off the bat, based off of all those things. So again, we're coming in with all those negative stress. So now you have to transform all of that, because again, as we've already covered, you can't carry that forward. It's not doing anything for you. You can't fortify on that. You cannot build up the best you, as you were saying. You cannot build up that character with those stressors. So you need places and or opportunities to transform them. Cue the gym. The gym is an arena where you can do that transforming, right? Because you need a chamber where you can transform it, because you can't just take it and say, okay, well, I'm going to think about it differently. This is a negative stressor. When I wake up tomorrow, it's going to be a positive one. I'm going to change. It doesn't work like that.
No,
if it worked like that, we wouldn't need self-help.
If it worked like that, I would not be at the job I am.
Right. If it worked like that, you wouldn't need therapists. You wouldn't need psychologists. Hell, I wouldn't need to make this damn platform. People can figure it out themselves. We don't need to talk about it. They got it. So it doesn't work like that. In order for it to work, there has to be a transformative process. There has to be something. It's just like back in chemistry. Most of us did not enjoy chemistry, but in order to change one chemical compound to another one, there has to be a catalyst. Right? There's something that has to act on it to change into the other thing. You can't just have H2O and then it turn to ozone. That doesn't happen.
No.
H2O doesn't just say, hey, yo, ain't no water today. All y'all getting this oxygen.
Right.
We did that, we'd be dead. It don't work like that. We don't want it to work like that.
Right, if oxygen did that, hey, bro, sorry.
Yeah, right. You don't want it to work that way. You want there to be a necessary catalyst for things to transform, so you know what the end products are going to be.
Right, sodium explosion. Right. You gotta put water in sodium to make it explode.
Right. So I don't know if that's accurate, but
we did. Yeah,
I think it's more than sodium. It can't just be water and sodium.
No, sodium is an explosive.
No, but I'm saying there are other things you have to mix. It's not just sodium and water.
Okay.
But
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that another time.
I mean, if that was the case, every time somebody spilled table salt and then also spilled their water on the table, you'd have restaurants blowing up left and right across town. So it's a little bit more than that. But anyways, that's besides the point. What I'm saying is there has to be a catalyst, right, to get from what you're starting with to get to your end products. And so that is the transformation that's necessary for taking your negative stressors and turning them into positive stressors. So one of your catalyst points is the gym. Because what you do is you take all of that negativity. You take I'm worried about my finances. I'm worried about my economic status. I'm worried about where I stand socially. I'm worried about my future. I'm worried about, can I pursue my passion? You take all of that and you bring it to the gym. And you take that and you start working on, obviously you work on your physical self. So when you're worried about, well, am I attractive enough? Am I suitable enough? Can I make it? Am I good enough for these people? All that stuff. And all of the image disillusionment that's out there. You start working on you. Because in order to, again, have an effective run in the gym, you have to be putting that work on yourself.
Right.
So it forces you to be selfish and focus on you.
Yeah,
So you're putting that time in and you start working on yourself. So you start building that part up. Then, like I was saying earlier, you go in the gym, you see all these different kinds of people that have all started from their own square one,
brick one, foundation.
Who all have their own stressors that they came in the door with. And you see them and you're like, damn, they look good. They look good. And you see this and you're like, okay, they look good. And then you go enough times and you start talking to these people and you start to realize, oh, well, they got this, that going on. Or you meet someone who's relatively in the same walk of life as you. And you're like, oh, damn, okay, shit. We graduated around the same time doing the same thing. And they seem like they are quite secure with themselves. Right. And we dealing with some of the same challenges.
Right.
And so when you do that, you start to transform yourself. Right. And you start to transform that stress, because when you're starting to put that physical stress on yourself, suddenly that other stress that you're dealing with, it doesn't seem as bad. It's still things you have to deal with.
Right. It's still there.
Right. But it doesn't seem, it's like, oh man, this don't weigh on me as much as it did. I feel like I can handle this better now.
Right.
And then when you start to go in and you get involved with that community of people, and you start to see that transformation, you then start to think, okay, well, shit, maybe life isn't as bad as I thought it was.
Right.
And maybe it's not so much so that, oh my gosh, there's no future and the economy is ruined and politics and da-da-da. All those things are they're stress. They're stressors. It's not great.
They're optional stress, though. They're optional
exactly.
stress.
Negative stress, and that's what I was saying earlier. Negative stress is that of which that you don't have to be. You don't have to live with.
It's optional stress. Like all that stuff, that's optional. Like that's, and I say it's so much of that now, where something happens, even as small as someone saying the wrong sentence on Instagram or Twitter, and everybody's going just completely insane. Mm-hmm. And they getting that negative stress.
Right.
They're, oh, such and such said this. Oh, we gotta cancel him and da da da. Oh my God, I can't believe he said this. So you have to, like, that kind of stress is so optional that you don't even have to put yourself through that. And if you are putting yourself through that, it's a deliberate. At that point, it's a deliberate torture.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. It's so necessary to get to that level of awareness. It's so crucial to be able to go and be able to find that place for yourself where you can start to transform some of that stress for yourself and be able to see not only what the importance is of that stress, but more importantly, how you make that stress work for you. Don't let the stress work you, make it work for you. And put it into play. That's what you have to do, and that's what you're capable of doing when you can see it. But that's the thing, you have to put that time in, and that's just what I've been learning over time. That's what the gym is one of those places that provides you with all of those things. Granted, that's what happens when you go consistently enough, when you maintain that drive, when you're able to keep moving in that direction. You can see that for yourself. You can develop that for yourself, and you can make those transformations. You can't do it though. And so for those people, and I just want to address these people too, for those people who feel like you're stuck, who feel like you're in a place where you can't make any real progress, you feel like there are certain things preventing you from going after what you want to do, or there's no point in trying because, oh, if I try this, what difference will it make? I'm not going to get. Go to a gym. Go to a gym. Seriously. And I'm not saying that, again, and I hope I've made this point clear enough. It's not just about your physical self. Going to the gym is not just a physical experience. So when I'm saying go, I'm not saying go because you feel like you need to work on something physically, not because you feel like you're out of weight, you're in shape. No. Look, everything that we've just said about transformation. That's what the gym is about. Transformation of multiple kinds, transformation of character. It's not just about the physical space. So if you feel like you're in that headspace, which I know a lot of us are, and I get it, I understand, it's not unreasonable. Go to a gym, and go to a good gym. No, and when I say go to a gym, because there's a lot of gyms to choose from, go to a good gym. Go to a gym where you know there are people that are close to you in age. Don't go to a gym where a bunch of old people go. And they doing their calisthenics and they doing their yoga and their cardio and all that stuff. You don't need to be in that place because you're not going to see that transformation.
They're going in there doing physical therapy and,
right.
and all that stuff.
Right. They got osteo. That's not where you need to be. Find yourself a good gym that has find a gym that has events. They have events for people that obviously would partake that are in your peer group.
Right.
And they have activities and you can show up and do these classes and X, Y, and Z and that kind of thing. Find a good gym that suits you. Mm-hmm. And you go regularly. And again, if you're go for whatever reason you feel like is going to keep you going. If it's not about the physical, then that's fine. You don't have to go in there and be slamming weights like you John Cena, and you don't have to do that. If that's not for you, you don't have to do that. Go. If you just go to be able to be around like-minded people and people who are also in need of that transformation in that chamber, then go for that reason. If you go to engage in some of the other fitness things, maybe you just go to do the yoga, right? Maybe you just go to be... Hell, maybe you choose to work at the gym.
Hey, yoga fire, by the way. I just want to say that.
Absolutely. If you want to go and be one of the associates or whatever they call themselves, and you work at the gym, so then that gives you the opportunity to not only see these people and the ones that are making that transformation, you also get to meet them. You get to meet people and interact with them because it's part of your job, right? If you want to do that. Okay. If you want to go and you do want to do the physical behalf, do that and go to the gym for that reason. If you go to, there's something else I was going to say too. But whatever the reason is, go to a gym, find a reason, decide whatever that reason is going to be for you, but go, because it's a transformational process. It's something that it will give more to you when you give to it. It is something that will act as a positive stressor and act as a catalyst for your negative stressors. That's what it'll do for you. But you have to be willing and able to put that time in. You have to be willing and able to have that dedication and that drive. And you have to be willing and able to know that that's what the gym can do for you if you go. Go ahead.
First start. The name is Alex. Alex on the mic. Longtime friend of the homie Chase.
Yes, sir. He is holding down and maintaining the software and making sure that we run it smoothly.
Yes, sir. Just wanted to throw something in there.
Doing a great
Chase
job.
Mentioned how vital the gym is to not only mental growth, but also to just physical growth as well. But when you start making transformative decisions, you see results. Maybe not physically, be in the gym being our example. Maybe not, you won't see those results physically, but mentally it's rewarding. It's rewarding because you start to notice that, yes, you stepped out of your comfort zone.
You don't see them immediately either.
Right.
Yeah.
But like I said, you stepped out of your comfort zone, and you took your first step towards being the change that you want to see. Right? For example, a butterfly. Um, During that process of a butterfly transforming, before it gets to that state where it gets to rest and sees the transformation, it has to do something. There has to be some form of work, some form of progression before it gets to that process where it can transform and change into the thing that it wants to become. And just wanted to, throw that in there though.
And you know what? I love that point too, because what you did properly point out right there is, and this is something that we've kind of been addressing the whole time too, but just not directly. It takes time. It takes time. You have to, again, this is why, going back to one of my original questions at the top, which is, what does it take to keep going? What drives you to keep moving? Even when you feel like I'm not about it, when I feel like I'm not interested, what does it take to keep yourself going? And all of that is a reference of time. At what point, again, going back to like I was saying before about being able to put things in perspective, everything is relative. Different things take different times to manifest. But you have to be willing to build that time in for yourself to get the results that you want, because it takes time. And again, another reason why the gym is such a magical chamber of transformation is because you see, again, like I said, why you have to do it consistently and keep going, and why that community is built, because you see over time what that does. You can't go into a gym for a week or a month and then leave and come back and expect to see positive results for yourself or the people that are in there. You can't see that transformation firsthand. Versus if you go regularly and you do your 3 times a week and you do what you got to do, and you see those other people that are in there putting their 3 times a week or 4 times or 5 times, or they're in there every day, and you see that person, it's going to take some time, but you watch them. You pay attention. You pick a person. And you're like, I'm going to just keep an eye on homie and see what he's doing. And after month 1, see where he at. And after month 2, see where he at. And after month 3, see where he at. And after that 6 months, after that year, you're like, man, I remember when I first saw him. Man, he like a little bodybuilder now. And you'll see that progress. You'll see what it takes because of the time that it takes. And you will start to understand that it takes a certain amount of time to manifest certain things just by seeing it. But you'll also understand because you'll be doing it yourself. And so you can put that in perspective. That's something that you can understand by doing that. And so I think that kind of brings us to a good roundabout point, just in closing. Really, again, go to a gym. If there's anything that you can do for yourself, men and women too, whoever, honestly, if you're at this stage in your life, go to a gym. There are only great things that can come from it. Take away the stigma. I hope that we did a relatively decent job demystifying it here. Take away the stigmas, because what I hope we put emphasis on well enough is it's not just about the physical, because I feel like a lot of the stigma comes from the physical. You go in and you start comparing yourself to what other people look like. Well, we just broke it down for you. There's a reason that these people look the way that they do, because they put that work in. There's a reason you don't need to worry about comparing yourself to those people, because it's more than just the physical. So take the stigma out of it. There's no reason to not go. There's no reason to feel like you're not good enough to go, because more times than not, if you pick the right gym, you're in there with a bunch of people who are moving in the same direction. And again, let's go back to the point and be very clear. It is a realm of transformation. So it doesn't matter where you're starting, and it doesn't matter who else is there and where they're starting. It's a matter of transformation. That's what we're doing. That's what it's about. You start your square one and someone else's square one could be two totally different places, but in both cases, it's your square one. That's what you're going for. You're going for the transformation. That's what it's about. And it comes back to one of the main tenets of what we believe, one of the main values of what this platform is built upon. Be the change that you want to see in the world.
Yes, sir.
And that means you have to know how to make that change. That starts with you. If you can't make the changes for yourself,
look
that you want to see, then you cannot make those bigger, widespread changes that you want to see out of your world.
If you want to be the change, man, you got to get up. Ain't nobody finna come save you. There's nobody finna come do the work for you. Only person that can do the work is you. You are the manager of you production. Of whatever your name is, production.
You Incorporated.
You Incorporated, yes. You are the manager of that. You are the producer. You are the promoter, the engineer, everything.
That's right.
You are everything. You are a one-man army. It's just you. So ain't nobody finna come save you. So you gotta get up. Set your alarm. Go eat you a good breakfast. Go do everything that you need to do to make that change.
Get a routine going.
Make
a game plan.
I went and bought a planner for this year. I just got my planner for this year. I don't usually buy a planner. However, I did for this year. So I can start writing down and keeping a routine. And making a game plan. So I can become the better version of myself that I am now. So it starts with you, man. Gotta get up. Get up out the bed. Get up out the couch. Whatever it is, get up. Because you can do it. You can do it. We believe in you. We got faith in you. And we don't have to know you.
But and you're absolutely right. We don't. And that's why we are here having this conversation. Because you have to believe in you first. That's the most important thing. And we're here because we understand that. We're here because we understand it's not easy. It is way easier said than done to say, I believe in me and I can do what I need to do. We know that. But with that being the case, you also have to understand that you are not on this journey by yourself. There are plenty of people in the same position. But you have to, again, perspective is so important. You have to be able to maintain that perspective. And so when you know that there are other people who are, essentially there's that idea of, you have those moments where you want to know, damn, I wish I knew what that other person was thinking. Right? I know that we're in this game, or at least I feel like we're in this boat together and we're relatively in the same place. But man, I really wish I knew what's going through your head. How do you feel? Because I feel like I want to give up. I feel like it's dismal. I feel like this is pointless. I feel like I don't need to try. But what do you think? And sometimes it's hard to have that conversation with people, especially people you don't know that well. And to just approach and be like, man, what do you think? Sometimes you don't know how to ask the question. That's why I want to have these conversations. I want to be able to open up that other side. Here is what's on the mind of that person, those people. Here's what they're thinking so that you can adjust as necessary. But I think that is a wonderful place to close. I think we've had a wonderful conversation. So again, just to recap, there is a beauty in being a member of a gym. Get yourself a gym membership. I'm not telling you where to go or how to go get it. Do what you see as necessary and fit. No pun intended. Do what you need to do. But if you haven't made that stride, or you're contemplating it, or you have done it, then bring that to other people and use this as a resource if you need to help them see it too. It is one of the few places left, I personally believe, one of those few grand forums left where any kind of person can go in and come out transformed. It's a beautiful thing, truthfully. This has been another episode of Menstruction. I am so glad to be here. I thank you all again for listening. And Ladarrius, I thank you for being here with me.
Yes, sir.
And
Love to be here.
And really engaging in this conversation. And the OG Alex, thank you for being behind the scenes and make sure that everything is kosher.
We gotta come up with Alex a nickname to call him behind the scenes.
Call me Slime.
Like, we got double A behind the scenes.
We'll come up with something. We'll come up
We
with
got
something.
double A behind the scenes, you know.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you. I hope that we have been able to provide another brick in the fortification of the structure that is you.
Your productions.
I hope that we have been able to just add that little piece for you. Again, menstruction. You know what we're here to do. The men of today trying to create the structures for those of tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
And on that note, have a good day, good afternoon, good evening,
And Happy New Year to everybody, you know.
and Happy New Year. Yeah, it's gonna.
Happy New Year. Let's get it.
We're gonna have a beautiful year.
Let's get this bag.
We're
Let's
gonna
get
have-
let's get all these goals. Let's get all these ambitions and endeavors for sure.
We're
Let's
gonna
get
have.
our ass in the gym.
We talk about goals, ambitions. What do you want to do? What do you see yourself in 5-10 years? Just bump all that.
That's right.
We are trying to get to it this year.
Everyone, you need to have a gym membership by the end of this year. There's no question. Have one.
No question.
Have one. All right, we're out of here. This has been Menstruction. Peace.